just the media, they're all full of lies. What you know a little bit, all hoping you die. Live free or die. Live free or die. Live free or die. Live free or die. What the hell is that? Votes just the same, nothing but a crap. They tell you what to think, they control what you see. Why don't you think and heard it on TV? I said live free or die. Live free or die. Live free or die. Live free or die.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another exciting edition of Hardfire TV on Brooklyn Free Speech Cable. My name is Cameron Weber. I'm an historian, an economist, and producer of Hardfire TV. Today, Brooklyn entrepreneur Erik Frankel is back on our show to discuss the problems facing small business and what we can generalize as an overtaxed, overregulated New York City.
Yeah.
We will discuss reasons why this might be occurring and solutions to some of the problems. Erik, thank you for taking the time to visit with Hardfire again.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be back.
Great. So we were talking about, right, we're catching you before you have to go overseas and do business and then come back and run for office, something like that. Yeah.
Going back to Vietnam and Myanmar.
Your son is there and your...
Yes, yeah, my family's there. I often get criticized about the work I do in Vietnam and Myanmar. They say it's a one-party system. I said, I'm from Brooklyn, you know.
Yeah, that's funny. We're gonna cover that. Yeah, okay, that's a good one there. Okay. So we were talking about corporatism. Oh, well, Erik's a small businessman is what I wanted to start with, and his family's had a family business now for 134 years in Sunset Park, Brooklyn. But you're also an industrialist. I mean, you manufacture silver jewelry.
Yes,
right?
I always joke. I say we make everything but a profit, but we do it. We make jewelry, bags, dolls, clothes.
Yeah, and you cover your overhead.
Yeah. I say surviving is the new thriving. If you could just keep your lights on in this economy as a small business, you're doing something right.
Mm-hmm. If you're still going.
Yeah.
So we get back to the issue of corporatism quite a bit on Hardfire. And Erik, how do you define corporatism?
I'd say it's where the voice of the community and the individual gets stripped away and replaced by something.
By a one-party system.
Yes, yeah.
Or
But
sure, that's from your experience that you've seen here. Yeah, the first corporatism was first applied to Mussolini. Yeah, Mussolini in the 1930s, where he what did he do? So the official definition.
I think that also there are attributes where it's the corporations become the voice of the community.
Exactly,
and they dictate
certain corporations which are chosen by the state.
Right.
And so then the state has a incentive to increase large corporate in any given industry or any given economy to centralize economic power in identifiable large corporations which are in bed with the state.
Yeah, where they control means of production, distribution, and
Who's essential, who's not essential.
Yeah.
Try to employment creation. And all that's done through giving these large corporations, these large politically well-connected corporations are given special favors, tax breaks, and contracts by the state so that the state can better control the economy and therefore society.
correct.
And that's what you've seen.
Yeah, and actually, I don't know if you were following today where Google laid off 12,000 employees, and their stock went up. So they're being rewarded for their stockholders are being rewarded for being financially. I guess it was a good move for them financially, but society,
a lot of that has to
you
do
reward negative behavior.
Well, the thing about the Googles and the Teslas and that is that we had such easy money that there was a big stock market boom because of the easy money. And so now that they're trying to fight inflation, getting rid of easy money, quote unquote, you see corrections. I guess corrections are a good thing when you have easy money. The better thing would be
it's when you're dependent on those.
Exactly. The better thing would not to be have easy money in the first place. But that's a little beyond our. Well, that's an easily identifiable source of corporatism of easy money, which goes to special interest groups.
They fund these
which makes small businesses less competitive.
It's hard. It's hard to stay. Like I said, they're building several Amazon warehouses down the block.
Sure, you don't have a window at the Federal Reserve, but I think Amazon's probably just one or two steps removed from that. I'm
a huge fan of eBay because I think that's how capitalism should be. You're competing with other vendors.
Sure.
Domestically, you have somewhat of an advantage but
the thing is, you mentioned Amazon, and Amazon. We talked about this our last show. Amazon doesn't pay any real estate tax.
No.
And they're your neighbors.
And they use our infrastructure.
Not only that, they're your neighbors. So they're you're in direct competition with Amazon.
Right.
Amazon was given free use of huge military warehouses. They don't pay real estate tax. And you have to compete with that and pay the taxes that they don't have to pay.
My father always says
that's corporatism.
My father always says Frankel's and Costco are going to be the last two retailers. But now I'm not so sure about Costco.
Maybe Amazon.
But now it's so we're competing with Costco and Amazon. And you also have suppliers going to the end user.
Through the internet directly. Decentralized distribution. But right to the point about that is that Costco is lured with tax breaks and Amazon is lured with tax breaks where small business is not. So it makes it
because we don't lobby.
Right. Well, because you don't have the resources to lobby. We're the large corporations who get easy money have the resources to lobby.
And also, I fundamentally oppose our elected politicians. So for me to give them money, is it's hypocritical.
For you to give money to politicians,
the ones that I disagree with. Maybe that's why I never.
Oh, you're talking about the automatic donations. If they reach a certain threshold, then they get funded by the taxpayer.
No, I'm saying to lobby, to give money to a politician that you don't believe is working for the interest of your community.
All right.
I think is hypocritical.
Yeah, but these businesses.
They don't live in our community.
So that they're not. Exactly. So that we have seen an increase in corporatism. We talked about the easy money during the COVID era, especially since the national emergency that was declared in March 2020 and redeclared continuously through today. This is consistent with our previous discussions. We have determined that it's the state's purpose to grow its power. In order to counter the centralization of state power in the hands of a few, we need a thriving private sector, which encourages small business innovation and self-ownership. Small businesses create local innovation and strong and vibrant neighborhoods, right? Instead of these just big, ugly box, soulless corporations.
That's what you keep on hearing. For politicians, they say, small businesses are the heart and soul of our community. I said, I feel more like the appendix.
Yeah.
just cut it out and
Yeah, I mean, because you've seen your real estate taxes go up, right?
yeah.
And especially, well, now that we're on the topic, and especially during the COVID era. During the COVID era, during the COVID era, because you're an employer, you had to act as the state's enforcer for the COVID mandates, right?
Yes, they would come into the store.
I would feel sorry for my friends in the neighborhood who have stores. And did they issue you badges?
No, they would come in. I'd have 3 people coming in a day to check my log to see how many people came in and was I cleaning the bathroom?
But your employees, you had to prove that your employees were vaccinated and all of this, filled out a bunch of forms.
I think we didn't have to prove that they were vaccinated. We did have to prove. I think there was a few days where they started to enforce it, but we had to show a log of the temperature, my temperature, his temperature, and a cleaning log for the bathroom.
Sure. So that's an example. And so those types of costs are much more easily borne by large corporations who have easy money, larger profits and overheads.
Yeah.
And get tax breaks. So, if you're not paying taxes, you have more money for the state required regulations. Anything else during the COVID era that they made? That's it.
Well, I besides the virtue signaling where
Amazon expanded during the COVID era because of all the delivery stuff.
Yeah, but I think it reinforced the mentality that complacence to comply is brave.
Exactly.
It's scary to think.
Exactly. That whole thing was done on a national level.
Yeah, I think international level.
Touche. Yeah. No, but what I mean to say is
you are noble for listening to us.
even though that it was determined maybe not constitutional.
No.
And then immediately 3 days after the effects went in, when all the corporations had to have their tracking systems in place, it was then declared unconstitutional. But those whole central tracking systems is a form of corporatism.
Oh, absolutely.
Right, where the idea is for the state to control society.
Yeah, I know. Like I said, I also know family members, friends of family who some got vaccinated, some didn't.
Right.
And for different reasons, and it tore families apart.
Oh yeah. Well, the whole idea behind the validity and the medical validity of the vaccine is kind of beyond it, and the way that was rolled out. We don't really want to talk about that too much because that's still being played out in alternative media and then making itself to mainstream media. And I guess, I don't know. But back to, I want to talk about you.
Okay.
I want to talk about small business and our thriving neighborhood. So
is it thriving?
That's what we're going to, no, it's not.
No.
It's constantly held in a low to moderate income status because of corporatism and because of the social services and the non-ownership society.
Yeah,
that's one of Erik's main points that we keep getting to is that if you don't own,
without home ownership, you have no equity.
Right, equity is the
word.
And
they use equity and inclusion all the time, but I don't think. I think the real estate industry
ownership is
doesn't want us to have ownership of ourselves. Who will we hold responsible? I mean, who will we blame when things go bad?
Right.
But it's, I mean,
ownership society, where we're not encouraging by giving Amazon warehouses tax free, instead of allowing private developers to build homes there, private homes the city gives Amazon that instead of the city allowing private developers to create homes there.
Right. Because we know that competition is good. It brings down the cost. It brings down the cost.
But you said 60 acres were given away to a corporation.
Yeah, we gave 75 acres of land to an international Norwegian company.
Yeah.
I say with a board that looks like the original cast of Star Wars, but with that Lando to stop gentrification. It's crazy.
Well, all in the same neighborhood as Amazon, the same as your store, all of which
because I think
prevents home ownership and private business ownership because it's because it's city-owned land that they give to their
So I ask people all the time: should the New York Economic Development Corporation pay property tax?
Of course they should. I believe all not-for-profit
What about
corporations. I believe
for-profit universities
I
like
believe-
Pratt?
even not-for-profit. The largest landowner in uptown Manhattan is Columbia University.
Yeah, I see NYU has a lot of property.
NYU is the largest landowner in downtown Manhattan. They don't pay property. The largest property tax, one of the largest landowners is NYU Hospital in our neighborhood. They don't pay property taxes.
Yeah.
Eric pays property tax. I pay
Yeah.
property tax, but you pay the commercial property
And
tax.
your landlord, which you might not like, also pays property tax,
Right.
which comes from your rent.
Which goes into
But since we're 100% owner occupied, most people don't realize it's based on the city's assessed value.
yeah.
And then it doesn't necessarily have to be aligned with the actual value of the money that you're receiving.
The city's assessed value.
Yeah. Which is also encouraging small businesses to be displaced.
Right.
You'll make more money renting it out to someone who could afford market value, where
Right.
small companies can't afford
Right,
market
because
value.
they're in that because
Yeah.
money has created so much inflation and asset bubbles that
Yeah.
you're locked in at a lower price, and those that have benefited from the easy money are able to buy you out. To me, that's just centralization of power and examples of corporatism.
Yeah.
Crowding out private business was just supposed to be the heart of the neighborhood.
And now when you
A neighborhood.
now you throw a rock, and you hit a nonprofit organization. I'm not saying throw rocks at nonprofit organizations,
But tax them would be a good idea.
yeah, but now the politicians fund the nonprofits who do the development.
Well, not the politicians, but the taxpayers.
Well, they're funded with the taxpayers' money,
Yeah, exactly.
but it gets allocated by our politicians.
Definitely. And the money that the city gives the not-for-profit organizations goes to very highly paid executives at the not-for-profit organizations who then turn around and give their money back to the politicians' campaigns.
Yes, and where the grant writers come in, I'm not 100%.
The grant writers,
but that's a whole nother.
those are government bureaucrats
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
not-for-profit bureaucrats that write grants for each other.
Yeah, I saw a lot of grant
It's like
writers
it's like a
donating
game.
money to my opponent in the past two elections, and I was just like, "What? What did they get out of it?" Then I started following. It's just
They-
sponsored propaganda, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
also a quid pro quo.
Yeah.
It's lobbying.
Well, it's the state is taking care of you. Vote for me.
Yeah,
People don't have so that's why we remain perpetually low to moderate income, because people don't have the incentive to create equity
yeah,
and wealth
yeah.
because of the welfare warfare state. They're just and corporatism.
Right.
The only people who can create equity and wealth are the large corporations in bed with it.
Because we're still a
State.
quasi-capitalistic
We're a mixed economy. Mixed economy.
The question is, how do you improve a community if you don't give people a reason to either move in and spend money or visit local businesses and spend money?
Exactly.
And that's something that I believe is not working. It's not happening.
Right. Back to the ownership. So you hear about state investment all the time. The state's going to invest 75 acres on the waterfront in Sunset Park in investment to create jobs. But I want, as the economist in the room, I wanted to say that by definition, the state doesn't invest. State subsidized enterprises the state investing means giving tax breaks to well-connected corporations. That's what state investment means, right? The Inflation Reduction Act was $400 billion for chip manufacturers.
Yeah.
So it's just, thank you. It's just state investment means subsidies to private businesses.
So they get to
state.
pick and choose the winners and losers.
Right.
And how can you compete with a company that gets free money as a small business?
Right. And yes, you can't. And your point is that state subsidized enterprises don't have ownership interest in seeing the neighborhood prosper.
Yeah, they're not entrepreneurs. They're bureaucrats.
They don't have local ownership and
Yeah.
local business interests. They're just there because of the tax breaks.
Right. And you can see this. Those are the ones. A lot of these companies that are getting looted. I mean, we catch shoplifters, and it's affecting a lot of people. But the main targets are corporate franchise stores,
Right.
and they hit them because they know that
due to political correctness, they're not going to be prosecuted.
Correct.
Because there was a big, well, we do have the largest rate of incarceration in the world.
But I'll chase somebody for a pair of socks.
You will, yeah.
I caught somebody in the subway. I ran 5 blocks for a vest, but someone who works for a corporate company won't do that.
Exactly. There's no personalization involved. It's all depersonalized. Exactly. So anyway, this means that small business and homeowners have to pay property tax, and there's no cap on commercial property tax.
Correct.
So if you're an entrepreneur and you want to invest somewhere, why would you invest in a place that has no cap on the taxes you can pay?
Correct.
Or at least a schedule of how much taxes can go up.
What amazes me,
at least some kind of reasonable approach to how the whole thing works,
is that they try to keep Sunset Park industrial. One, because it's a cash cow for them. And two, while they talk about climate justice and, a green economy, they also want to keep Sunset Park industrial, which seems like a contradiction.
Right.
We need jobs. We need manufacturing jobs.
We need.
This is what they say.
That's what they say. But in fact,
they're moving to Jersey. They're moving to Pennsylvania.
Yes, but you're in the business of creating employment because you make a profit. You have customers. You're investing your own money. You take the loss.
Yeah.
You get the gain if there's a profit. You take a risk.
Yes.
Because you have something to gain or lose. The state doesn't have anything to gain or lose through its investments. If the investments work, the private corporation makes a profit. If the investments don't work, the taxpayers start.
Yes.
So that's corporatism.
That's
socialized risk and private profit.
Yeah.
Corporatism. So we've got about 10 minutes left. I wanted to ask you, speaking of small business, The Economist magazine had an epigram, which I found interesting. People who live in a democracy are happier than those that don't. Those who vote are happier than those that don't. Those that work are happier than those that don't. And those that work for themselves are happier than those that don't.
Look, they said that?
The Economist magazine said that. And I'm not saying that I certainly do not believe it.
I don't agree on all those. I know people who say those who work are happier than those who don't.
The Economist magazine, I hate to say, is corporatism. Because
I'd say that's accurate. I know my father said he's still trying to recover from his honeymoon, which was 50 years ago, that depending on they said married men can't wait to go to work in the morning. Single men want to stay home.
So those who work are happier than those that do not. Okay. So you agree with that?
But those who vote,
right.
I disagree. When I ran for office, I met people who were really angry voters. And usually what drives them to the polls is their anger towards the other party.
Right.
Or the opponent.
Sure. Yeah, so, we're a divisiveness two-party system, and I hate to say it that I dislike both parties equally. And we're looking for alternatives to the two-party system. At least I am. Well, I'm in the ivory tower. You're actually politically active.
Well,
you're actually running for office. You're trying to fight within the system.
I'd say one party has to be more corrupt and disingenuous because that's why they're able to maintain power.
The most corrupt wins. So that goes to the democracy.
I know
that goes back to your question.
But I know many people challenging the system. In this area, they're running as libertarians, Republicans, conservatives, independents. And they seem very genuine, and they're aware of the situation.
Sure,
but they'll never get any coverage. They won't raise funds, and it's like they go through the motion, but there's no. They don't even.
Well, there's something to be said for
debates.
Because they're not allowed to the debates because the two-party system controls the debate, so they can't get into the debates. And the two-party system controls the who gets onto the polls.
Well, no, even Republican and Democrat, there were no debates for city councils, assembly.
Yeah. The party chooses it itself.
Yeah,
exactly.
And then
that's not democracy. That is not democracy.
And then.